Today I want to tell you about three interesting saints I thought were interesting. Saint Abraham of Kidunia. Born into a wealthy family, he was forced into an arranged marriage early. During the wedding festivities, he fled. He walled himself up in a nearby building, leaving a small hole for his family to give him food and water, by which he could explain his desire for a religious life. His family relented and the marriage was called off. He spent the next 10 years in this cell. After a decade, the bishop ordered him out of his cell and sent him to evangelize. He evangelized this entire area or village, smashing idols. He suffered abuse and violence for that. He was finally successful, so successful the town became known as Kidundia. He left the cell only twice more. Once when a niece, St. Mary of Edessa, was living a wild and misspent youth life. Abraham disguised himself as a soldier, and he knew that would get her attention. He went to her home, and over supper he convinced her the error of her ways. She converted and changed her life. He returned to his cell, and the final trip away was for his own funeral, which was held by a large amount of mourners. His biography was written by St. Ephrem of Syria. St. Abraham of Kidunia, born 296, died 366. Today is also the feast of St. Chiara Badano, born much more recently in 1971 in Italy and dies in 1990. She was a young lay woman, daughter of a truck driver. She was kind, happy, pious. She enjoyed swimming, tennis, things like that, hiking. She wanted to be a flight attendant. At 16, she began feeling the draw to religious life. Soon after, she was diagnosed with cancer in her shoulder. She insisted she could become a missionary, but the cancer spread. She finally relented and accepted that she wasn't going anywhere, and she spent her remaining time praying and being supportive of her family and friends who probably were really, really sad. Blessed Chiara Badano. And finally, Saint Mary of Edessa, who we just heard, niece of Saint Abraham of Kidunia. She lived for 20 years as an anchoress near Abraham's cell. In a moment of weakness, she was seduced by a renegade monk who turned from his vows. She despaired of forgiveness, and in her lapse and shame, she moved away and gave herself over to a wild, desolate life. Where she was sexually active. Saint Abraham left only his hermit cell twice, the second time to visit in the guise of a soldier. Actually, that was the first time. Like so many others, Mary picked him up and took him home, and then over supper, Abraham convinced her the error of her ways. She converted, lived the rest of her life as an anchoress, spending her days in prayer. Her patronage is against sexual temptation. So let's ask St. Mary of Edessa, Blessed Chiara Badano, Saint Narcissus of Jerusalem, and Saint Alexander of Cappadocia, which is also their feast days. I talked about them already. And Saint Abraham of Kidunia to pray for us. All the saints pray for us. Please pray for the souls in purgatory.